Good morning, a good evening, and good afternoon. This is Nathaniel Kempton Productions here today, and welcome to Cowerbridge Junction. As you can see, the layout is more or less in full working order now. Both of the main lines are operational. The sidings just over there, slightly off camera, are also operational. The only thing that isn't operational is the points. Well, they are, but they're not wired up yet for electric control with point motors. The point motors are fitted, but they don't work yet. I'm still working out how I want that to happen, basically. So I built the layout mostly off camera. I didn't video the process because it was a bit difficult would have been the camera over there and the workbench over there, the layout over here, tools and sawdust everywhere. So I took the executive decision to not film it, but I did take plenty of photographs, which we will see later on. So the layout didn't take too long to build. I think it only took a couple of days, more or less. So we'll bring in those photos that I mentioned earlier now. As you can see, the first photo was the board at the back, board 1 as I called it. That one up first. Very simple construction, made out of 2x3s and some plywood, with 4 legs on it with adjustable feet at the bottom. Very bog standard layout construction methods. Nothing special there. The other boards simply hang off the end of it with a little homemade wooden bracket type thing, so that I could save on timber making the legs. Very simple method actually, and very effective as well. Once the storage yard boards were up, I then slapped on the layer of cork on the top. It's 3mm thick. Sport from Amazon? Don't remember. I think it was a company called SPD UK, I think, for the cork. Not entirely sure. I do have the... oh, there we go, yeah. There we go. I overbought, so there you go. SPD. It's trying to focus on my face. SPD UK. High density cork rolls. I way overbought that. Incidentally, one of these packs was just enough to do the fiddle yard at the back. That's all 4 sheets at the back of the layout. Seems like a lot, but they are full sheets at the back, full length and full width. Of course, on the scenic section here, you may not be able to see from this video, but I will include a photo here. You can see that the cork on the scenic section is just cut into strips underneath the track to give it a little bit of a ballast shoulder, which is something I've wanted to try for a long time on my layouts. So all the boards, as I mentioned, are very simply constructed. The only difference being the railway embankment that the trains actually run on, as you can see from this shot here. They are in fact 6 inches above the framework level, give or take. And that's because I wanted a decent height embankment for a river bridge, which you can see just here, hopefully, marked out by this pot of superglue. I don't know what kind of bridge I'm going to use in the river valley down here. I'm thinking it might be some kind of very simple girder bridge type construction, something very similar to the bridge that carries the Severn Valley Railway over the River Severn, something similar to that I'm thinking, where it's like some kind of girder arch bridge type thing. I don't know just yet, which is why it's not here yet. I'm concentrating on getting the track working properly and wiring up the point motors, which will be the next video, hopefully. So once all the boards were up and in place, I was able to start some very basic wiring. The control system that's used on this layout is a little bit unorthodox. It's not NCE or Hornby or Bachmann or Lens or ESU. It's an open source control system called DCC++. So if I insert the photograph here, that's the size of the little Arduino circuit board computer thing that actually gives the commands to the layout. And if I get a shot of the laptop screen behind me over there, you can see that the actual computer program is JMRI, which is again a very common computer program to use to drive trains from a laptop. Also on my phone, which you can't see but it's there anyway, is a piece of software, an app called Engine Driver, which works in tandem with JMRI on the laptop. Basically, my phone and the laptop are on the same Wi-Fi connection in my apartment, so the Engine Driver app communicates through the local Wi-Fi with the laptop, with JMRI, and then sends the signals down to the little Arduino, which is underneath the station board down here. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. And in some sense it is, but it's actually very simple to set up. I will do a separate video about the control system once all the point motors are fitted. I will do a dedicated video about that. The layout itself is kind of steam era, transition era. I'm thinking it's 1960s, sort of 1964 onwards. As you can see from this train here, I have two British Rail Mark IIs up the back. In blue and grey, which is appropriate for this era. So I wanted to make sure that I was, timeline-wise, able to have Mark IIs knocking around. Not too many. At the moment, I think there's only two. Yeah, there's only two on this entire railway in here, which is more than enough. I don't want any more than that. It's just that I don't have very many coaches in my collection, and I wanted to use what I already had. And I didn't use those two Mark IIs on the 1980s layout, so I thought I'll bring them in here and just call it 1964 to 1968. And as you can see quite clearly from the selection of trains running today, we have Southern Railway Monsell S15 and a Collet Goods 2251 class from the Great Western region running around. Now, I decided a long time ago that I didn't really care for any particular set region because I have a fairly large collection. In fact, you can see it behind me. If I get out of the way, you can see most of my collection behind me and some more down here on this table that I don't think you can see. It's mostly Southern region and Great Western. There's a couple of Midland interlopers. I've got a Ginty on the top here, and I've got an Ivet 262 tank down the bottom there. And also a Derby lightweight unit. So there's a little bit of Midland flavour, but mostly Southern and Great Western. So I decided very early on that I didn't care for a set region. So this layout is more of a what if type layout. What if all regions of British Rail just kind of operated everywhere? That's basically it. It's nice and simple, and gives me the freedom to run whatever the fuck I want, which is what I like. And I knew from the offset that I wanted it to be a double track layout rather than single track because, well, quite honestly, double track is more fun. You know, I can stand and watch and listen to the trains rattle past, which is great fun. Even though there's no scenery to accompany the trains. It's just nice to listen to, you know. And I have notched the tracks roughly at scale 40-foot panels. So in theory, the trains kind of sound like they should do as well. It's still very much experimental at this point, and some of the sections of track sound better than others. The crossing here sounds particularly good, as does this track joint here. Pardon me. So I'm still trying to work out. I might need to make the the notch is a little bit wider in some places. But overall, I think it sounds fine. And once the ballast goes on as well, that should help amplify the noise a little bit as well. But of course, ballast is a long way off yet. The layout is, of course, a junction station, Cowerbridge Junction. The idea being that trains on the inside track here, like the Collet Goods, for example, running along here, could, using this junction arrangement here, turn off and go into the branch line platform over here. It's a very loud car, you're very rude. The theory being that the branch line would continue going off that way, off camera, but my bed is in the way, and that makes it a little bit difficult to build the rest of the branch line. I am trying to think of ways that I could do that, and say from just like fixing a 6-inch wide board to the wall and having a couple of sidings right down the end where the bed isn't in the way, there's not a lot that I can do about that. So that's kind of irritating, I guess. Effectively, the layout has a little bit of shunting capability in the little yard over here. I've got the engine shed complete with inspection pit and refueling facilities. And then just behind this dead standard 4, there is a siding space for coal traffic for the loco shed, and the occasional pick-up goods delivery type thing with the collet here, with a couple of the box vans and such. The end goal for this layout is to control the entire thing from my phone with the Engine Driver app, as previously mentioned. So I can stand in the middle and operate the railway, or I can stand on the outside where the camera is and operate the railway, without needing to dive in and out to a switch panel over here to change points, for example. It can all be controlled from my phone. At least that's the theory. So I'm going to cut the camera, I'm going to change the trains, and we'll get some close-up shots of the trains running around the layout. the pannier is now on this track, but it's stored on this track. Now that's where this crossover junction here comes in. In the previous video, you may recall I called this the correcting junction because it corrects the direction of travel of branch line passenger trains or goods trains using the branch line station. So the auto train can either continue running through the through road and run all the way around the layout on the outside track to its heart's content, or using the junction down here can transfer to this inside through road here. Then I can lift it off the track and plonk it back in the siding where it belongs. Now I know that's far from ideal in terms of flow of the layout and the way the trains run, but due to the lack of space over here, that's really the only choice that I have. I have thought about adding a set of small points in this corner here and bringing out a reversing siding in between these two tracks, just so I can bring a branch line service into that siding, run the normal trains round on these tracks, then bring the branch service back going the correct way and let it run around the layout again, or go back to the branch line platform over there. And the other annoying thing about the storage yard is, you can see here, okay, I've changed some of the wagons around, but not everything in my collection fits on the layout at the same time. So you can see all of the trains on the inside line fit perfectly. Space behind the C-Class here for the auto train, and right over the back there's the S15 with its 6+1, slightly too long, and then the standard 3 with its 3 Mark 1s there. The 8F, and indeed the passenger train behind it, they have to have the last few items removed, or in the case of the goods train, the last like 6 wagons removed, or 4 in this case, including the brake van, because otherwise it wouldn't fit. And the same goes for the passenger train over here. It's only one coach, which is manageable. I plonk it on, couple it up, and it's good to go. But the 8F is a bit of a different story. I have to run it when it's time to move. I have to run it to about here, stop it, add the extra wagons behind it, and then I can drive it on, which is very annoying. It's quite frustrating, but as I say, with the lack of space over in the storage yard, that's the best that I can manage. Now, yes, I could store the 8F with its complete freight train in this track here. It would fit. I've measured it. It fits. I only have to remove the brake van at the back. That's fine, one wagon at the end. But that would then interfere with the crossing over here. As I mentioned earlier, branch line trains using this junction have the choice of continuing round the outside main line track, or transferring to the inside track and then being lifted by hand and put back in their appropriate storage loop. If the goods train was sat here, and this passenger train here, and this passenger train here, there's no through road on the outside track. Nothing can get past. So the trains have to be stored in the 2 outside loops on both sides, leaving the 2 inside as through traffic. Now, this does mean that I can put any one of these trains, the Derby Lightweight, the High-Mech, or the Ivet Class 2, straight onto the through road with a collection of wagons and coaches, and then run that round. and then just lift everything back off again. So for example, if I don't feel like running the S15 or the standard 3, if the operating session doesn't feel right with these running around again, I can just grab something from underneath and chuck it on the layout and have that run around for a few laps instead. Again, it's not ideal. What I would like to have is a kind of a cassette storage yard type thing with a load of shelving brackets on this massive white wall here that the camera won't focus on properly. And then just lift a whole train with the track, stick it on a shelf, grab another one and plonk that down. And that was something that I considered for a long time. Then I decided that lifting a roughly 7-foot storage track probably wasn't going to be the best of ideas, so I scrapped that idea fairly quickly. But other than those small issues, this layout really is quite good fun to drive and watch trains go by. That's kind of the main point of this layout. You know, you can set up a camera somewhere, watch the trains go by, or using the two tracks there and the small yard, you can do a small spot of shunting, loco movements, you can do a little pick up goods type thing, and everything basically works out just fine. It's fairly simple layout to use. So for the moment, I think that'll make this video complete. As I say, the next video will be completing the layout wiring, wiring up all of the point motors with point decoders and setting that up within JMRI and Engine Driver on my phone. Where's that? Somewhere over there. There it is. And then hopefully the entire layout will be operated from my phone, and that might mean I can do some fun live streams where I'm not in shot at all, because of course I have the laptop in here with a Wi-Fi connection, and I think I've got OBS installed on that, so I can do some very basic live streams in here, which might be quite fun. So yeah, until the next video, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.